We celebrate our nation, our future, Uganda, and believe in the beautiful game of football in Uganda. We believe in our mother body. Fufa, Fufa. When the boys and girls aspire to become stars, of the Uganda Queens and the Crested Queens and the Sun Queens. Come on, our fans, our gallant fans, our sponsors, our dear government to support the beautiful game. One tribe, one family, one religion, one nation. It is our game, it's our country, it's our joy, it's our nation. The past and present stars, the fallen and living heroes, the coaches and referees, the players and the officials make this game. One tribe, one family, one religion, one nation. It is our game, it's our country, it's our joy, it's our nation.
Hello, a very fantastic evening to you viewers, wherever you're catching the signals of Saturday TV. I would like to say thank you so much for being part of the biggest TV in Western. Of course, we are an online TV. This is where we give you the best in terms of sports. Of course, this show is only sponsored by Sabrima Global Ventures Limited. In that they are the biggest and the only sponsors of the show because they do deal in a number of activities. They do deal in a money lending. They do deal in what we call procurement and logistic management. Of course, a number of other activities that they normally do deal in hiring of cars. They also do deal in what we call engineering actual activities. So what you have to do is look for the offices of Sabrima Global Ventures Limited. You will be sorted with everything that you need. Financial services, they are always there to give you the best in terms of the services that you need. Of course, a number of sporting stories that we shall be discussing with you. What has actually Uganda achieved since its independence? Of course, we all know the independence of Uganda will be tomorrow. That's 9th of October. That's when Ugandans will be celebrating their independence, and then on that day there are a number of games that has been lined up. Of course, the biggest here in Geroh shall be at Ontupraka at the Geroh Stadium. Of course, our own Ontupraka will be having a game. We're talking about that. Actually, internationally, Arsenal are planning to shift from Emirates Stadium to go and play their games at London Stadium. That will be way back in 2028. Okay, Arsenal is actually with the plan of shifting from Emirates. Then they wanted to host the games at Wembley. Of course, the Emirates by 2028 will be under renovation, or will be under improving capacity. Of course, Arsenal really wanted to improve its capacity a little bit. Of course, we shall be breaking down for you some of these stories when the right time. Because of course, Cristiano Ronaldo breaks actually one of the records in that he now becomes the official billionaire in the world of football. Of course, no player has the risk to actually his standard when it comes to that. I'll be breaking for you all these things because in transfers there's a lot that is making headlines. Of course, Andy Postecoglou at Team Nottingham Forest, here is already under pressure. Of course, the coach has been lined up to replace him. Then we shall be looking into that, into nitty-gritty. But let us begin here and we talk about some of the local updates that I do have for you here. Of course, on the 31st of October, we shall be seeing Boxing Club Western Boxing Club actually having its actual engagement here in Heritage Court. Of course, that will be on the 31st of October. That's when you will be seeing boxers coming into ring. Of course, one of the boxers has been actually programmed here on that day is Geroh, that will be fighting alongside Sauda. Of course, this event will be taking place at Heritage Park. Of course, what you have to do is get the money ready and let's first support our own kids here. Of course, these are young kids, most notably these are ladies, and it remains to be seen how they will be showcasing their talent in terms of boxing here at Heritage Court. Of course, the money has been actually programmed here. Of course, ordinaries will be paying a fee of around 10,000, and then if you want to be at the VIP section, you have to pay 10,000 for that. And then if you want to be having what we call a table on your features, of course, which will be having a lot of drinks in there. Of course, you have to pay around 300,000 shillings for you to access the boxing club. Of course, that boxing which will be broadcasting for you live here on the TV screens. Of course, I would like to say thank you so much to Osino, who is the club president for West Nile Boxing Club, of course, for the information that you put forth for us. We shall be actually rallying behind that actually move. Of course, we shall be giving you all the information that you need about boxing here. Of course, Osino has been one of the most pivotal past personalities here, driving forward the game of boxing in Western. Of course, 31st of October, that's when all roads will lead to Heritage Park, and we shall be, Heritage Court, that's where we shall be having the boxing itself that will be taking place between Geroh and Sauda. These are really young stars, and I can tell you, when I'm looking at their faces here, they are really looking amazing, and we really need to run behind and we support them to see that we take them to some extent of boxing in there. Of course, when you have got a number of friendly matches being lined up, of course, one of them is Mvara Boys. Of course, they will be playing against the Soccer Era. This game will be on Friday. Of course, they will be playing this game at Bishop Grounds. Always Arua Corp. This game will be taking place there. Of course, this is one of the beautiful games that we shall be talking about in there. Of course, they will be playing this game on Friday. Of course, tomorrow, Ondubraka has got a big game. Of course, I timed it to be one of the continental pieces. Of course, Ondubraka has lined up a game, actually always a friendly game against a team that's come from DR Congo, particularly from Aru. Of course, the team is called Racing Club Egil Rugwe. Of course, this game will be played tomorrow at Ababel Green Stadium at only 3K. Let's rally behind this team of the Football Club. Of course, the next trip will be against the Tukasazi. They will be going to Kampala over the weekend. Of course, they have got a big league class with Tukasazi. This game will be at Mithiana. Of course, the team is badly in need of transport. The team is badly in need of players' allowances. The team is badly in need of paying actually its technical team. Of course, let's first rally behind this team. Of course, being the Independence Day of Uganda, I'm quite sure our neighbors, I'm talking about DRC Congo, they will be rallying behind this team massively to support our own team. That's on the practical. I'm told people from Aru, they are planning to storm Arua in numbers. So what should the people of Arua expect? What you have to do is also come in numbers and let's support this team called on the Practical Football Club in their quest for their promotion to the Southern Ghana Premier League. In there, of course, I can tell you over the weekend, the number of people who came in for the game against Egaga United, I was not really convinced with the population that people came that came in at the Ababa United Stadium. Of course, I expected a number of people to turn up for that game against Egaga United, but the population is not what we used to see at the United Stadium. I can tell you, this game is only at a lower cost. Let's rally behind this team. Of course, we all know Ondubraka SARS as the team has got a number of activities. I can tell you, they are really preparing so much to actually see that that field is kind of fenced now with what we call a wall fence, the whole of the pitch. That's the project that the current team is trying actually to work on. Of course, we shall be seeing in the next 2 years on the Braka being completely fenced. Okay? With the wall fence, these are some of the initiatives that I can tell you are happening with the Green Stadium. Of course, always the team itself. Of course, this is a project that we really need to support. Of course, the team that comes in currently, always the team that's running the team is really amazing. If they are this kind of initiative that they're trying to actually have in this the plan that we really needed in the game of football. Of course, Green Stadium being actually the biggest stadium here in West Nile, most notably being used by the FIFA drum. That clearly says you that there is need to improve Green Stadium, and the team is actually really preparing so much in that. And the team will be playing tomorrow in the Independence Day. Of course, they'll be playing against the Racing Club of in there. So let's rally behind the team. Like I said, it's only 30,000 Ugandan shillings. Let's rally behind this team, and our other staffs will definitely be here tomorrow. They'll be bringing for you some of the coverage that's happened there. But for me, I'll be proceeding to lower grounds. That's where I will also be having for you the live coverage of the game between Nebisen Football Club up against Black Power. This game was intended to be today, but it has been postponed tomorrow just because the president is already for his campaigns and he is currently in Nebi, and that is the reason as to why the officials of the Football Club has to write a letter to FIFA to see that this game is pushed to Thursday, of course. And then after that, the team Blast Power will be traveling to go and play against Pimpai, the Black Angels, in another encounter over the weekend. But let me first take you through the game that will be coming up actually in the FIFA Big League over the weekend. Of course, tomorrow on Thursday, we shall be seeing the team Nebisen Football Club playing against Blast Power FC at Lua Ground. This game will be at 4 p.m. live on Sunrise TV here. Don't move a muscle. I can tell you a number of people are already planning to stream this game live here, which will be broadcasting for this game live across our social media platforms, whether on YouTube it will be there live, on X it will be live, on Facebook it will be as usual live. What you have to do is buy enough data. You have to get this kind of match live for you here on the TV. I can tell the team is already prepared to go and travel tomorrow. By midday, the team will be at Lua Ground to see that we'll give you the live coverage of the game between Nebi Central and the team Blast Power tomorrow at Lua Ground. Of course, after that, the Black Angels will be hosting Blast Power at Barokoro Stadium. Then Katida will be playing against Mbare Heroes at Bugulobi, Bugulobi Coffee Grounds. Then Tukasazi will be playing against Ondubraka. This game will be at Mitena Sata Grounds there in Kampala. Of course, Ondubraka will be traveling here from Marua up to Mediana, long distance, right? Of course, this is where we shall be witnessing our own team here, that to be facing against Ntukasazi. Then Waktu Giants will be playing against Tigezi Homeboys at Wakita Education Ground. Then Ingaga United will be playing against our own team from Northern Uganda. I'm talking about Young Elephants Academy at Ingaga Saza Grounds in there. Then Karo Karunzi will be playing against a certain team in the names of Solituro Brighton at Chiamate Playground down at Tukama. Of course, Bunyarunguru United will be playing against Tigezi Homeboys. This game will be played at what we call Nakuma Nyaku Buka Primary School Playground. Of course, that's down in Kasese. Let's first look at what has Uganda achieved in sports since its independence. I'll be breaking for you some of the things in the world of sport that Uganda has tried to achieve. When you look at Uganda, the last time that Uganda attained actually its own independence was way back in 1996. Way born by that time, probably I was not there, and even my dad was not even there. I can tell you, the generation keeps on growing. It keeps on growing and it keeps on growing. I can tell you, Uganda has moved miles in actually that perspective when it comes to attaining its actual independence from the colonialists. Of course, it's the British that kind of we attained our actual independence from. Of course, that was way back in 1962. Of course, Uganda has achieved significant sporting success under actual its independence. Of course, I can tell you, most notably winning several Olympic gold medals, and particularly in the athletics. Of course, always the athletes in Uganda has actually won a number of actual accolades for Uganda in what we call sporting world. Of course, most notably was John Akiba, our own from Lira. That's why you're seeing it being named actually after him. Of course, he won that one way back in 1972. That's when he won the 400 meters hurdle. Of course, that's when he won the first gold for Uganda. That's John Akiba for you. Very remarkable history being set by John Akiba, our own from northern Uganda. Being the first northerner to win this for African was actually one of the blessings for him. In the, of course, Stephen Kiprotich also won what we call a marathon way back in 2012, if I can remember very well. He won what we call a gold marathon way back in 2021. Uganda has also secured its first Olympic boxing medals in 1968, and I can tell you this has kind of come with a lot of experience for Uganda, and the best Olympic performer at the topic at Tokyo 2022 with the 2 golds and 1 silver, not forget 1 bronze. These are some of the accolades that Uganda has actually won since actually its independence. In the beyond the Olympics, Uganda has also won numerous medals at the Commonwealth and all African Games, especially in athletics and boxing. These are some of the things that Uganda has been mostly achieving in. I can tell you, netball, Uganda has been one of the nations to talk about. In rugby as well, in cricket, not forgetting football, Uganda has been I can't talk about in a continental levels. So let's first talk about the success. It's always the individuals that has won Uganda some actual accolades when it comes to gold, silver, or the bronze. Regardless, I'll be breaking for you the individuals in that actually matter in there. But when you look at the title itself, you can really see that there has been a lot of positives for Uganda when it comes to winning, always succeeding in in sports, particularly in athletics, in boxing, in netball. These has been the areas that Uganda has been performing so extraordinary in that regard. Of course. Like I said earlier on, John Akiba won Uganda's actually first Olympic gold medal and set actually a world record way back in 1972, whereby he won the 400 meters hurdles. This is one of the biggest. Remember, this was actually this happened way back in Germany, and that's when John Akiba won that world record all the way from Lira, our own from northern Uganda. We are so proud for him. Of course, may he so rest, actually continue to rest in eternal peace. That's John Akiba for you, and we are glad that the stadium being named after him. Of course, after attaining one of the heroic moments for the country itself. Of course, in boxing, we did see Eldad Mukwanka won a silver medal for Uganda in 1968, and Leo Rwabongo also won a bronze medal in 1968 and a silver in 1972, respectively for Uganda. Of course, Leo Rwabongo is the only personality in Uganda that has won 2 medals for the country itself. Of course, no one has come after to win 2 medals for Uganda. And Leo Rwabongo has won actually 2 accolades for Uganda. So much actually appreciative to that. May their souls continue to rest of internal peace. Of course, the times have now gone. Of course, we have to say and we have to pray for their souls. Of course, in spirit, we always live longer, and we shall continue to live forever. Stephen Kiprotich also won the marathon at the 2012 London Olympics and followed it up to the World Championship way back in 2013. I can remember that one very well. I can tell that one made Ugandans very proud, and Stephen Kiprotich is one of the personalities also to talk about in that regard. And then in the 2022 Tokyo Olympic Games, of course, Uganda has best Olympic performer and actually 2 gold medals, and that's I'm talking about Joshua Cheptegei and Peruf Cheptai. These are the personalities that won one of the things for Uganda Queens in there, and then Uganda in there. And then 1 silver has been won by Cheptegei, and 1 bronze has been won by Jacob Kiprimo in the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. I can tell you so much appreciative to the team that's has won a number of silverwares for Uganda itself after attaining its independence way back in 1962. In there, of course, let's first talk about the Commonwealth Games and all African Games. Of course, Uganda has won a number of them. Of course, Uganda has been a top performer when it comes to playing in some of these Commonwealth Games and all African Games. And Uganda has won a number of 53 medals, including 16 goals in the Commonwealth Games. Okay? That's what Uganda has won in. And when it comes to all African Games, Uganda has won 87 medals with 22 gold in what we call all African Games. This is something that I thought I really needed to let you know about that. Of course, Joshua Cheptegei and Jacob Kiprimo, these 2 athletes are currently the world actually record holders when it comes to multi-medal winners. And at Commonwealth and all African World Championship Games, of course, there have been the personalities to talk about Ugandan football or Ugandan athletes. When we talk about football itself, at Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup, Uganda has been a successful nation when it comes to that, winning it 15 times, and that has been a remarkable record set by Uganda, and they are currently the record holders of winning the Sakafa Senior Talents Cup, winning it 15 times. Let's give credit to Uganda, and there's been improvement in the world of sports since Uganda attained its independence. Let's first talk about the African Cup of East Nation States. Of course, Uganda featured in the tournament 7 times. That's the Africa Cup of Nations 7 times. Okay, that's when Ghana featured for Africa Cup of Nations of 7 times in there, and reaching the finals way back in 1978. If I can remember that history very well, history continues to repeat itself, and that if I can remember, the president at the time was still Idi Amin Dada, our own from Koboko, and I can tell you, Ghana lost the game to Ghana that way in 1978. The history still remains itself, and Ghana has never reached to the finals since then. Ghana has never reached to that, and Uganda has been playing in the Africa Cup of Nations 7 times right now. Of course, Uganda has not been all that consistent when it comes to playing in the Africa Cup of Nations. Of course, sometimes Uganda qualify in, sometimes they don't qualify in. So Ghana has played in the Africa Cup of Nations 7 times. Take note of that. That's what I can be important to give you. When it comes to athletics, of course, Ghana has got a strong history in both track and field and cross-country events, and the athletes winning medals at various world championships and diamond leagues. That is incredible. Then in netball and rugby, Uganda has also demonstrated a strong performance at continental level in the netball, and also won the rugby 7 championship series in Africa. Credits to Uganda in there. And then talking about Dorcas Nzikuru, of course, our own from West Nile, and he won the first women's 3,000 meters stiff places world championship. That is the reason as to why he has been actually given land in Kampala. He has been personally given land here in Arua here, Dorcas Nzikuru. That is why Barifa Stadium has been named after her. Dorcas Nzikuru made our flag very, very proud as West Nile. Of course, he still remains to be one of the personalities that currently the country is talking about him. I mean, her in the Dorcas Nzikuru for you. Very, very brilliant personality in the game of athletics. Of course, no one has broken that record here in West Nile, and she still holds that record. Of course, we have a Sidaland, our own from West Nile. He's trying to actually maneuver her ways to win a big accolades here, to see that he also raised the flag of West Nile region to some extent, but he has been considered actually call up into the national team of Uganda when it comes to other Commonwealth Games and Olympic Games. She has been a consistent call-up for the team of Uganda in there. So it remains to be seen what will be happening in that actual order. Let's first talk about the FIFA itself. Of course, a lot of fracas are happening at the FIFA house, and when you look at the biggest, it has only been the new format of the Southern Ghana Premier League, and I can tell you this has caused prompted a number of issues are trying to accept the format, and those who are rejecting it. And I can tell you, Vipers President, or the proprietor I'm talking about, Dr. Lawrence Morindo, has come into headlines, and he's making a lot of noise when it comes to changing this actual new format. And he says his team will never be playing in the new format, and it remains to be seen what will be happening. I can tell you there was some kind of meeting being organized by FIFA at around 11 a.m. and the outcome of that meeting is still pending, and we are also following that one closely. And I can tell you, when FIFA unveiled the new Uganda Premier League format, it was meant to be a signal progress for a step toward developing a competitive, organized and marketable league here in Uganda. But that has not been supported by a number of stakeholders in Uganda, and it has been actually alleged that this has been actually brought into Ugandan football. If FIFA really wanted to actually establish this, they thought that this has to be something that FIFA has to plan in long overdue, and they said there has been insufficient consultation and communication regarding the new format. And when you look at the structural changes that require a clear explanation, phased introduction, and stakeholders actually buy-in, this has been wanting in the new format. And CAF or the FIFA has not been reliable into this. And how can now FIFA be important to handle this into better options? Of course, looking at this, the way forward that I think FIFA needed to do is to have got that it will build fan engagement. The FIFA needed to have got fans into board to see that fans also needed to understand this. And most of our clubs here rely on gate collection and the fans. If fans don't actually go and watch this game, definitely this will be of a negative impact to our league here. And it will now give a lot of bad image about the times Uganda Premier League itself and FIFA itself. I think there is need that FIFA needed to come down with the club officials, the club presidents, the media officers, and the media personalities all over the country to see that they sensitize everything. And if this is supposed to be amended, it has to start from the lower roots, not from the top tier of East in level in the. Let's first talk about that's in a brief because I don't want to talk much about other stories. Of course, let's first talk about Jane Sinende. She has been appointed as the Sakava interim executive director. Of course, he is a former Uganda women's national team player. Of course, he has been playing for Uganda national team in there. She has been officially appointed as the Sakafa executive director. This is incredible for Jane Sinende. I think most of you people can be important to know something about him in there. Of course, when you look at some of the games that were played today in the Sun tournament, in the World Cup qualifiers today, we did see Libya playing 3-3 draw against Cape Verde. Of course, Mauritius were beaten 2-0 by a team in the shape of Cameroon. Then Ethiopia did beat Guinea-Bissau by 1-0. Did you expect that? I never expected that. And then Eswatini played a 2-2 draw against Angola. I never expected this. And then at 7 sharp, we shall be seeing Chad that will be coming against Mali. This game will be at 7 p.m. Comoros will be playing against Madagascar. This game will be at 7 p.m. Then Sierra Leone will be playing against Burkina Faso at 7 p.m. Then Central African Republic will be playing against Ghana at 7 p.m. equal. And then Egypt will be playing against Djibouti. Egypt will be traveling away. They will be traveling to Djibouti. This game will be at 7 p.m. Then at 10 p.m. sharp East African time, we shall be seeing Tanzania playing against Namibia. Then we shall be seeing Niger playing against Congo Brazzaville. Then Burundi tomorrow will be playing against a certain team in the shape of Kenya. And this is East African affair in there. This is going to be an interesting game. This is going to be at 4 p.m. in there. Then we shall be seeing Somalia playing against a certain Algeria in there. This is going to be a tricky one for Algeria. Of course, they really needed a maximum win. Then Uganda tomorrow at 7 p.m. will be playing against Botswana. Uganda is already down in Botswana, and they will be they'll be playing against Botswana tomorrow. Then Mozambique will be playing against Guinea-Bissau. Then Liberia will play against Namibia tomorrow at 7 p.m. Then Malawi will be playing against Equatorial Guinea. This game will be at 7 p.m. Togo will be playing against our neighbors, DR Congo, on Friday. I don't want to talk much about some of the games that will be played on that very day. Let's first talk about Cristiano Ronaldo himself. Of course, he has set a record already when it comes to being one of the footballers who have attained being that billionaire status. Of course, Cristiano Ronaldo has officially become the first footballer to reach billionaire status according to evaluation being done by Bloomberg Billionaires Index. This is not my personal thing. This is the thing that has been monitoring finances of players. It's called Bloomberg Billionaires Index. And it is now confirmed that Cristiano Ronaldo is the first footballer to be a billionaire in that regard. Now, when you look at the analysis of Cristiano Ronaldo's financial actual estimates or his financial status, I can tell you his net worth is now about 1.4 billion US dollars. That's Cristiano Ronaldo for you. But when you actually convert this money into million pounds, I can tell you his net is worth 1.04 million pounds. You see, this is Cristiano Ronaldo for you. 1.4 billion US dollars to 1.4 billion US pounds. You see, million pounds, I mean. This is incredible. And taking into account his massive career earnings, investments, and endorsements, okay? It involves all those things. His career earnings, and his personal investments. Always you're in the AC. Siraki Cristiano Ronaldo. If I say it my endorsements, issues to do with Adidas, issues to do with the neck. You see, I thought I even for the scenery, to Cristiano Ronaldo is not a billionaire status when it comes to footballers. Messi, Messi has never reached that. Of course, let me break down for you the key financial issues. Of course, when you look at the Cristiano Ronaldo's career salary, of course, he has over 550 million US dollars, which is equivalent to 410 million pounds, and in his salary earned between 2002 up to 2023. That's Cristiano Ronaldo for you. Senere Dusu irajeli firi paka 2023 sire. Eresene azi angiri leni ugo million pounds. Turusu mudio le the Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the man that he has earned in 410 million pounds. That's Cristiano Ronaldo. But when now you look at his actual personal endorsements, and yet they be paying. Those things associated with the neck, those things associated with the Adidas, those things associated with the Guinness, those are the adverts. You see, Cristiano Ronaldo has scooped a lot of money, around 13.4 million annually. You see, pounds. This is incredible from Cristiano Ronaldo. And when looking at his contract with Al Nassr, since he made that move from Manchester United to Saudi Pro League club Al Nassr in 2022. Of course, when looking at his money, I can tell you he has been the best paid player globally, and a new deal that will keep him at the club past he's actually 42nd year. And Cristiano Ronaldo has already scooped a lot of money in there. Of course, at Al Nassr down in Saudi Arabia, he's been paid 400 million US dollars. So when you convert that money into pounds, it's equivalent to 298 million pounds. That's the money that Cristiano Ronaldo is earning. And he's actually a long-time rivalry. I'm talking about Lionel Messi has earned more than 600 million pounds. 600 US dollars, which is equivalent to 447 million pounds in pre-tax salary. So that clearly tells you that Cristiano Ronaldo is now the biggest earner in the world. He is officially now a billionaire. That has been done by Bloomberg already in there. And Cristiano Ronaldo is now the biggest earner globally when it comes to money in there. No one has actually reached to his level in terms of sports in there. Let's first talk about Arsenal itself. Of course, Arsenal is now preparing to shift from Emirates Stadium, and they are saying that Emirates Stadium is going to be under expansion, and the plan has already been set by 2028. Expect Arsenal not to play at Emirates Stadium, and they'll be playing at what we call Wembley Stadium. Of course, Wembley Stadium holds a capacity of around 90. Of course, that's the capacity that has been held by Wembley Stadium, being the highest stadium in capacity in England. Of course, Tottenham Hotspur previously used that, West Ham United previously used that, but those teams initially paid around 15 million pounds to use Wembley Stadium to host the games there at Wembley Stadium. So Arsenal, if they will be leaving Emirates Stadium, they will be paying 15 million pounds to host the games at Wembley in there. Of course, Arsenal, they made that actually move to play the games at the Emirates Stadium way back in a long period of time. Of course, Arsenal initially were playing the games at Highbury. Of course, 20 years down the road, Arsenal has been played at Emirates Stadium, and they were now wanted to expand Emirates Stadium to some capacity in there. Of course, they said they wanted to make Emirates Stadium to be the biggest capacity in London. Of course, Tottenham Hotspur currently holds the biggest in London. Of course, Tottenham Hotspur's capacity is around 62,850 capacity. That's what Spurs is actually right now having, and Arsenal wants to have a capacity which is around 70 plus. Okay, so we are going to see whether this will come to pass. Of course, when you look at the stadiums in Europe that has got the highest number of capacity, of course, is Wembley, the National Stadium of England. It has got 90 capacity stadium. Of course, that's the capacity of Wembley Stadium, 90,000. Then followed by Old Trafford of Manchester United, which holds a capacity of 79,310 capacity. Then followed by Tottenham Hotspur, which hold a capacity of around 62,850. Then followed by West Ham United, that hold a capacity of 62,500. In the Anfield, hold a capacity of 61,270. 60 in there. Then Emirates Stadium comes in that order. This holds a capacity of 60,704 capacity. Then St. James Park of Newcastle holds a capacity of 52,305. Manchester City's Etihad Stadium holds a capacity of 52,900. That's the capacity that has been teams have been having in England. Let's first talk about transfers before I quit the studio for the next program to come in. Of course, Geroh is actually destined to leave Manchester United, and not forgetting Kobe Mainoo. These players are saying they really wanted to quit Manchester United and they wanted to find another challenge as well. And there has been some of the reports making headlines in here. Of course, March 24, Geroh 24 sees a general move away from the club itself as he finds what to call a limited playing time at all times. Of course, this guy at Manchester United has not been actually having that sort of playing time this season, and Ruben Amorim has kind of not giving him much of the playing time this current season in here. But last season he was one of the key players for Manchester United when it comes to the quest to play games in the European nights in there. But apparently United currently is not playing in the European nights, and he's saying he wants to find a way out of Old Trafford. Of course, when you look at the system that Manchester United is currently playing in, it doesn't favor this player. I'm talking about a player in the names of Joshua Zirkzee at all. He needed to quit this team of Manchester if he really wanted to find a playing time. And West Ham United is not showing interest in him, and I can tell you, Nuno Espirito Santo says he is a big admirer of him, and he wanted to bolster his actual attacking force to see that Team Spurs or as Team West Ham remains competitive in there. Of course, still at Manchester United, their player I'm talking about, Kobe Mainoo, is also looking at leaving Old Trafford with Napoli also interested in his services. Not forgetting Chelsea, these are the clubs that have been interested in the services of Kobe Mainoo. Of course, at Manchester United, he's not having much of the playing time. If probably he leaves Manchester, this will be one of the biggest things for Manchester United. Of course, this is a youngster, still 20 years old. He can offer a lot of things for them, and probably tying him to a longer term will be of a good advantage for Manchester United. And of course, Harry Maguire, 2032, wants to continue at Manchester United, but will have to take actually a pay cut to see that he extends his stay at Manchester United. Of course, this is according to Team Talk, and I can tell you, Harry Maguire is going to be one of the players to talk about, and probably you could be seeing him extending his contract at Manchester United. Of course, his experience is going to be needed in the team of Manchester United. In the Chelsea manager, Enzo Maresca will not bring in outcast defender. I'm talking about Alex Disasi, who is of a French nationality, and he is already 27 years old, and he says he will not ever bring him back into his starting lineup much as he has got the injury classes. That's according to the Sun. Leeds United will look to sign a winger. I'm talking a winger in January, and they already talked about Harry Wilson of Team Fulham in there. So we have to see whether they will be in position to sign this guy in the current in the general transfer market. That's according to Sky Sports. Former Leeds manager winger, I'm talking about Rafinha, is on Manchester United actually rather after his actual fine form at Barcelona, but the Brazilian international 28 could cost around 120 million pounds. I don't know why Manchester United wants to sign this guy. Of course, he is already at 28 years old. We want to spend this actually a big amount of money on this money instead of spending this money to go and sign a defensive midfielder, maybe in the caliber of Carlos Baleba, or as in the caliber of someone in the step of Adam Water from Crystal Palace. We want to go and sign actually a winger in the step of Rafinha, who is already at the closing edges of hit football. This is a huge loss. I don't buy this idea of Manchester United going for this guy at this point of time now. Everton manager, I'm talking a former Everton manager, I'm talking about St. Diaz, is not interested in the vacant managerial position at Rangers, and following the sacking of Rasul Martin. Of course, this has been some of the stories making headlines in the world of sports. My time is virtual up. Let's catch up tomorrow at Lua Grounds, as we shall be giving you the live commentary between Nebi Shendu Football Club up against a team in the name of Blast Power FC. The game is only at 5,000 only Ugandan shillings. The crowd is going to be so massive. I can tell you a number of people are preparing to stream the game here on our TV screens. What you have to do is buy a data, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. That's where we shall be giving you the best in terms of sports. It has been me, Senior Geroh, the host of the show. I'm out of here. Let's meet tomorrow at the Luo Grounds. Bye-bye.
We celebrate our nation, our future, Uganda, and believe in the beautiful game of football in Uganda. We believe in our mother body. Fufa, Fufa, when the boys and girls aspire to become stars, of the Uganda queens and the crested queens and the sun queens. Come on, our fans, our gallant fans, our sponsors, our dear government to support the beautiful game. One tribe, one family, one religion, one nation. It is our game, it's our country, it's our joy, it's our nation. The past and present stars, the fallen and living heroes, the coaches and referees.